So after deciding the vision, after understanding the mission, and after finalizing the goals and objectives, what a business needs to do is to come up with a strategy about which we are going to learn in chapter 4. But before actually formulating a strategy or finalizing upon a strategy, a business needs to understand a few more things which we will discuss about in this chapter, which is strategic analysis. Now, strategic analysis, in simple words, involves doing a situational analysis whereby we identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Now, the strengths and the weaknesses can be identified by analyzing the internal environment, and the opportunities and threats are found out by analyzing the external environment of business. So once we've done that, we need to analyze the level of competitiveness in the industry, which is point number 3. We also need to understand the distribution situation, which means that how do we arrange to deliver the goods, whether it is online or whether it's free home delivery or whether consumers are supposed to go somewhere at the retail outlets and buy the products. And we also need to identify about the product situation, which means that we need to understand the fact that the products should be as per the tastes, preferences of the people. So a situational analysis is an understanding of a further detailing about what the business wants to go ahead with. Now, once it has done situational analysis, what it has to do is analyze a lot of other factors. Just to discuss a few, a business first needs to analyze its target customer group, which means, say for example, a business wants to sell watches. It needs to identify the target audience, and now that can be done through various ways. Now, Fast Track positions its product for the youth. Whenever a college student wants to buy a watch, it can relate to the brand Fast Track. And Tata makes Fast Track watches. Tata also makes Titan watches. Now, Titan has a different positioning altogether. So, the product Fast Track is targeted towards the youth, and the product Titan is targeted towards the older age group. So, in this way, what we need to do is we need to understand my customer segment. Segment means that part or group of people to whom I actually want to sell my product. Now, after identifying the customer segment, I need to understand what attracts or motivates those people in that segment to buy my product, which is nothing but customer motivations. Now, suppose I want to target the housewives for certain FMCG products or for products like detergent powders, dishwashers, and so on and so forth. That is dishwashing liquids. So what I need to do is I need to understand their motivations, which are factors that in a way persuade the consumers to buy my product. Now, after I have done that, I also need to identify the unmet needs, which can prove to be a great boon to my business. Unmet needs are basically those areas where the consumer wants certain products and services, but there is nobody to provide as such. So if I am able to tap those unmet needs, I will be at a great advantage because of no or very less competition as such. So there are several factors that need to be identified under strategic analysis, which you can just go through on the screen. I'd like to discuss one more topic, which is under performance analysis, the last concept, which is called product portfolio analysis. Now, product portfolio analysis is what this chapter is mainly about. Now, let's just try to understand what product portfolio analysis is. Product portfolio analysis simply means analyzing the bunch of products a business has to offer to the public. So, for example, if you talk about a company, Maruti Suzuki, so the various cars that it has to offer to the public, that entire list or that bunch or that group or collection of products becomes its product portfolio. It has to constantly keep reviewing the product portfolio because a lot of times products become obsolete, or they need some kind of upgradation, or they need a totally new modification. And that is the reason why we need to do product portfolio analysis. There are various methods and techniques to do product portfolio analysis, about which we will discuss in this chapter a little while after. Now, there are a lot of factors which have an influence on my industry analysis and my competitive analysis. Now, let us just discuss a few factors which will impact me. We discussed about business environment in general, and these are nothing but factors related to the business environment which tend to have an influence on my business. Now, the first factor is the market size. The second factor is the distribution channel. Now, Havells India Limited is an electrical company of India. It has a distribution channel of around 10,000 plus distributors spread across 50 countries in the world. So this definitely makes a difference. Capital requirement and ease of entry and exit. Now, it is not very easy to enter the insurance business and not easy to exit it either. So this will also be one of the deciding factors if I have to analyze that industry in which I want to go ahead with my business. Now, industry profitability is another factor which will have an influence on my business. Now, if you talk about the food industry, the industry profitability is way above par. So a vada pav probably which costs 10 or 12 rupees to us, the consumers, hardly costs say around 4 or 5 rupees to the street stall holders. So the industry profitability being above par there definitely makes a difference. The number of rivals and the relative sizes, the scope of competitive rivalry, and the number of buyers and their relative sizes. So all these factors are the dominant economic features of the industry. The nature and the strength of competition will also definitely influence my business. We can certainly understand this with Michael Porter's 5 forces model, about which we already discussed in chapter 1. So this also tends to have an impact on my business decisions. And there are a lot of triggers of change, that is the driving forces. Now, internet and e-commerce has changed the way people do business now. A Chinese company named Xiaomi, spelt as Xiaomi, it is the 5th largest phone manufacturing company in the world. It was established just 4 years ago. And what it does is it sells its phones exclusively through Flipkart in India. Now, because of this, what it does is there is a flash sale that it announces. And all those people who are interested in buying their phones have to register. It is simply like a lucky draw. Now, there were more than 1 lakh people who registered for Xiaomi Mi 3 phones. Mi3 is the phone model number and Xiaomi is the name of the company. So there were more than 1 lakh people who registered for that phone, and Xiaomi has a big problem coping up with the demand because it is not a huge business compared to the other phone manufacturers which are its competitors. So on August 12th, 2014, Xiaomi sold 20,000 of its phones in just a few seconds through Flipkart. So internet and e-commerce opportunities and threats certainly have a great influence on my business. Now, this can also be called as a marketing innovation. So they distribute and sell their products only online. There are quite a few other companies also. There's another company called Oplis which sells its phones and tablets through Snapdeal. So these are certain triggers of change, and the trend is picking up. Now, the increasing globalization also has an impact because the world today is all about globalization. The business world is all about a world without boundaries. Product innovation. Google Glass is a product innovation. BMW Gina car, that's Gina, a car which doesn't have metal as its outer skin, but instead a fabric. It is an industrial fabric which is resistant to stretching, which is also resistant to high and low temperatures. We should all find out about BMW Gina. The acronym Gina stands for Geometry and Functions, that is G-I-N, G for Geometry and Functions, I stands for in, N stands for N, which means innumerable, and A stands for adaptations. So that is geometry and functions in N adaptations. So the car can change its shape because of the flexible outer skin. So that can be an example of product innovation. Marketing innovation, we already discussed about that with an example of Xiaomi. Entry or exit of major firms definitely triggers a change. Exit of firms like Kodak, entry of firms like Amazon, Walmart, etc. definitely have an influence on the competition and trigger a change. Diffusion of technical know-how, that is diffusion of technical knowledge, also has an impact, because out of a joint venture, the information, the technology of one of the partners is passed on to another partner, which definitely has an influence on the business later on after they probably think of splitting up. So these are certain triggers of change that are nothing but the driving forces. Now, a business needs to identify the strategic groups. Strategic group is nothing but a business identifying its main competitors. So as you can read, a strategic group consists of those rival firms with similar competitive approaches and positions in the market. Now, for Airtel, Vodafone, Aircel, Tata Docomo, Reliance, etc. will be the rival firms. And a list of all these rival firms has to be made, or else a business may be at a disadvantage. Because if it doesn't identify a rival, it will never be able to cope with it. So after a business has identified its rivals by forming a strategic group, which is nothing but strategic group mapping, it also needs to understand their moves, the likely strategic moves. That is, what exactly are those businesses going to come up with? What will be their strategies? What products are they going to come up with? What services are they going to provide? What other changes in the products are they going to make? What are the changes in the customer service are they going to make? So a business needs to know these changes, which are nothing but the likely strategic moves of the rivals, so that it can combat accordingly and adapt thereafter. And the prospects and financial attractiveness of industry certainly has an influence. Attractiveness here refers to the profitability. Now, profitability of an industry certainly attracts businesses. Now, an industry that has reached a saturation point will not attract many businesses as such. Now, another factor in industry analysis is the key success factors. Now, KSF is what we call it as an abbreviation. KSFs are those things that affects industry members' ability to prosper in the market. And this is nothing but the quality of the product, the dealers, the distribution channel, etc. can have an impact. Now, in general, we can understand what KSFs are with these 3 points. Why do customers choose our products and not the competitors' products? What resources must we have? Now, the we here refers to the business. And what exactly should we do to become better than rivals? Now, these 3 things basically identify the KSFs in the business industry. There are several other methods of industry and competitive analysis. One of those methods being SWOT analysis. SWOT refers to strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what we need to do is we need to identify our strengths and weaknesses from within the organization, because strengths and weaknesses can be identified and jotted down from analyzing the internal environment of business, and opportunities and threats can be identified from the external environment of business. We have studied this in chapter 1. Now, what SWOT does is it provides a logical framework. That is, it gives us a basis, and that basis is nothing but information. And information is always required to plan. Now, once we've actually come up with this logical framework, it presents us with a comparative account, which means that I need to understand my strengths and weaknesses to make the best possible use of the opportunities available and to combat the threats available. and in this way it guides us towards strategy formulation. Now, Tau's matrix is nothing but an adaptation to SWOT analysis. It is very similar to SWOT. The only difference is that here we analyze those 4 factors in comparison to each other. The Tau's matrix was developed by Mr. Heinz Weirich, who is a German professor in the USA, and this is how it goes. So what we need to do is we can identify the opportunities and threats from the external environment, as you can see on the y-axis, and we can identify the strengths and the weaknesses from the external environment, as you can see on the x-axis. Now we need to use our strengths to make the best possible use of the opportunities available in the market. So we need to compare our strengths with our opportunities, and we need to compare our strengths to minimize the threats. So we need to compare S with O, we need to compare S with T. We need to overcome our weaknesses so as to capitalize on the opportunities, and we need to minimize the weaknesses so that we are in a better position to face threats. TAOS is nothing but an extension to SWOT, whereby we do a comparative analysis of S with O, of S with T, of W with O and W with T. So the strengths should be maximum, the opportunities should be maximized, and the weaknesses and threats should be as minimum as possible. Now, the theme around which chapter 3 revolves is nothing but product portfolio analysis. And further in this chapter, what we are going to understand is the various methods and the techniques to do product portfolio analysis. Now, let us just try to understand once more what product portfolio is. A product portfolio is nothing but a bunch or a group or a collection of products and services that a business has to offer to the public. And its analysis is nothing but the periodic review, which has to be done because of the dynamic business environment. Now, one of the simplest methods of doing product portfolio analysis is product life cycle. This is very similar to the human life cycle, wherein a person takes birth and a person dies. Now, when the product is launched, that is actually the birth of the product. And if we just take a look at the product life cycle, the x-axis represents the time, that is when the product was launched, and the y-axis represents the sales. Now we can represent this in the form of either the sales volumes, that is the number of units sold, or in terms of the revenue generated. So if we observe, there is a curve, and at the introduction stage, what happens is, this is the stage where the product is launched and where the product goes and establishes itself in the market. After it has established itself in the market, it will grow further. After which there comes maturity, where there is a slight decline and there may be a modification or an improvement made in this stage. And after which there is a decline stage and the business may think of actually closing the product or getting done with it. Now, the 4 stages to note is, the introduction stage, there is slow growth. At the growth stage, there is rapid growth. At the maturity stage, there is a slight decline in terms of the revenue generated. And at the decline stage, there is a sharp drift. So what we need to do in the introduction stage is we need to do a lot of marketing and advertising so as to create an image and a demand for the product. And we need to inform and request the people to buy the product because it is new. At the growth stage, because the product has established itself in the market, we need to cut down a little in terms of the advertising and just to make the presence felt. And we need to inform the others to buy the product. Nonetheless, it is implied that at all stages, the quality has to either remain constant or improved. At the maturity stage, there is a severe need to come up with an innovation in the product or a modification in the product so as to take the product to its former glory. in the absence of which the product faces the decline stage and ultimately a death. So this is one of the simplest ways to do product life cycle analysis, and these methods are obviously suitable for a business having multiple products, because when we talk about product portfolio analysis, this is more suitable and more preferable by businesses having a variety of products to offer to the public. Now, the next technique is called ADL matrix. Arthur D. Little is the name of a person who actually came up with this matrix, and the name of the organization is ADL. Now, this contains 4 stages which are similar to the 4 stages that we just understood in the product life cycle. Now, the 4 stages here is the embryonic or the introduction stage, the growth stage, the maturity stage, and the decline stage. But these are stages of the industry maturity or the industry life cycle. As compared to product life cycle, those were the 4 stages of the product. Here, these are the 4 stages of the industry in which the business is functioning, which is represented on the x-axis, and the y-axis represents the competitive position of the product in the market. So the product may either have a dominant position or a strong position or a favorable position or a tenable position or a weak position. And the industry in which the product is functioning may be at the embryonic stage, which is the introduction stage, or it may be at the growth stage or the maturity stage or the aging stage. Now, on the basis of this matrix, there is something given in each box. So what I need to do is I need to jot down where exactly my product stands in the market in terms of its competitive position, and I need to understand the industry growth, the stage of industry maturity. And my product will fall in some or the other box when we jot it down in the form of a graph. And what is written in that box is exactly what ADL, that is Mr. Arthur D. Little, advises us to follow in terms of that product. So, for example, if my product has a strong position in the market and if the industry in which the product is functioning is at a growth stage, so what I need to do as per ADL matrix is I need to attempt to improve my position and I need to push for share, which means that I need to build, I need to invest more, I need to come up with something more innovative so as to create a competitive advantage for my product. So ADL matrix can be related to product life cycle in this way. This is a further understanding of ADL matrix wherein we need to build in the yellow boxes, we need to hold, that is wait and watch. We need to harvest, which means we need to try to make the best out of what we can get right now. And the other boxes which are left white, we need to come out of those products or those services because those products have a weak position in the market and the growth rate there of the industry is on a decline. So I hope this gives us a better understanding of ADL matrix. Now, ADL matrix, as we just discussed, is based on 2 parameters: the product life cycle and the competitive position of the business. So here the product life cycle is in terms of the industry maturity, and the second parameter obviously is the competitive position of the business and the product in the market. And to combat the situation after we've analyzed, there are various strategies, as you can see towards the bottom of the screen, about which we're going to understand in the next chapter, which is chapter 4. Now the next and one of the most widely used techniques to do product portfolio analysis is called BCG matrix, that is Boston Consulting Group matrix. And this concept was given by Mr. Bruce Henderson, who was the CEO of Boston Consulting Group from the year 1963 to 1980. And he gave this concept in the 1970s. Now, in this concept, the x-axis represents the market share of the product and the y-axis represents the market growth. So, from left to right on the x-axis, we jot down high to low. And on the y-axis from bottom to top, it is low to high. And a simple way to explain this will be that stars are those products which have a strong position today in the market and which are likely to continue the same way for the next few years also. So I can bank upon those products which are stars. Now for the question marks, I need to wait and watch. My question marks are nothing but products which require a hold situation, because I am not sure whether they are going to make it or break it. The cash cows are those products which are generating a good amount of revenue today, but it is highly possible that these products may not work in the future because of the nature of the products or the service. And dogs are those products or services which are no longer rendering any advantage to me. So I need to divest from those products or that particular business part. So I hope this gives us a clear understanding now. I'm sorry. If we have to understand about the products offered by MT Educare Commerce in general, so let us just try to jot down the products on the basis of the categories given in this BCG matrix. Now, MT Educare offers various products in Mumbai like 11th and 12th, CA-CPT, CA-IPCC, CA Final, CS Foundation, CS Executive, TY BCom, TY BMS, FY BCom and FY BMS. Now, CA and CS products will definitely be stars because of the kind of nature of products. I need to wait and watch on my 11th and 12th standard because those are supposed to be my question marks, because the way technology is going ahead, and for a student who is very focused right from the junior college days as to what he or she wants to pursue in the future, so SYJC may not hold as much importance as the further studies may hold. And with the advent of technology, with internet being the encyclopedia of knowledge, and with the IQ of students these days increasing by a great amount, what happens is a student can easily search, browse through the internet and understand concepts, with YouTube providing us with n number of videos to understand concepts better. So I need to wait and watch on my 11th and 12th standard. The FY BCom and SY BCom certainly seems to be dogs, because those are not offered by all the branches, since there is not much of an inflow of students, because in the first year graduation, the second year graduation, the majority of the students tend to think that we just need to get passing marks and that's it. We will work hard on the 15th or the graduating standard, that is a TY BCom and TY BMS. Now TY BCom and TY BMS seem to be my stars, and the 11th and 12th standard can either be jotted in the question mark or can be jotted in the cash cows, because 11th and 12th standard in general is running today pretty well. But in the years to come, I either need to wait and watch, or I need to milch as much as I can right now and harvest. So I have to build my stars, that is, I need to increase the market share, I need to invest more in the products which are my stars. I need to wait and watch, I need to hold the products which are my question marks. And regarding the cash cows, the way to deal with cash cows is I need to give in more inputs to the cash cows so that I can make the best out of it today. Because I have an assumption that in the long run, this is going to be my dog. And dogs are those products from which I need to divest. So I need to build the stars, I need to hold the question marks, I need to harvest the cash cows, and I need to divest from the dogs. I hope this gives us a clear understanding of BCG matrix. But there's one limitation in the BCG matrix that could be identified from the fact that if I jot down a product which is very near to the border of boxes 1, 2, so I don't know whether to classify that product as my star, although it appears in the box of stars, or it is very near to a question mark. So I don't have a clear understanding of where exactly to position the product in terms of my product portfolio analysis. Now, this limitation is resolved by another matrix, which is a sort of an improvement to BCG matrix, which is called the GE 9-cell matrix, which is General Electric 9-cell matrix. This was developed by General Electric Company, which is one of the biggest electrical companies in the US. And this matrix primarily deals and indicates the products in terms of the colors used in the traffic signal lights. Now, if we observe a little, this matrix contains 9 cells, that is 9 boxes. And the green boxes that we can see in the 9 boxes are those products which give me a green signal, which means I have to go ahead, I have to grow, I have to build, I have to expand those products. The yellow boxes that I can see are those products which force me to wait and watch because of the uncertainty. And the red are those products which are nothing but products which have become obsolete and I need to divest. So in simple words, if we use words of the BCG matrix to understand GE matrix better, the green boxes symbolize my stars, the yellow boxes symbolize either my cash cows or the question marks, and the red boxes symbolize my dogs. So this matrix gives us a clear understanding of where exactly do the products or the services fall after we've jotted them down using this x-axis and y-axis. Now here, the x-axis simply refers to the business strength and the y-axis refers to the industry attractiveness. So my business strength should be strong, that is obviously favorable, that is a desirable situation, and my industry attractiveness should be high, that is the industry in which I am functioning or the product is functioning. So BCG matrix and GE matrix are in a way connected in this way. Now the next matrix is given by Mr. Igor Antsov, who is regarded as the father of strategic management, and he gave this matrix in the year 1957, several decades ago when there was hardly any competition or globalization as such. Now this is a very simple matrix which deals with 4 basic things or 4 basic approaches to going ahead with business. I can sell my existing product in my existing market, which is called market penetration. And Maruti Suzuki did this in the last year, because of which it was able to generate a profit of 681 crores in quarter 3. And that is only because of market penetration. Quarter 3 of the last year, that is 2013-14. So market penetration is basically an approach where I function in the existing and the current market and I do not come up with new products. I keep selling the same products, the existing products, or I keep providing the existing services in the same market. Another approach can be product development, which means I develop new products apart from already selling existing products, and I develop a new product and sell it in the existing market. Here we can take a simple example of Samsung. Every few months it will come up with a new phone and sell in India, which is its existing market. The third approach in this matrix, which is Igor Antsov matrix, is called market development, which means I need to sell my existing products in a new market. Now, one nice example we can take here is Micromax, selling 14 of its different handsets in Russia. And the fourth point in this matrix is called diversification, where I sell a totally new product in a market where I was not present earlier. Now the I here or the we here refers to business. So the business will sell a new product, will come up with a totally new product and will sell in a market where it was not prevalent or present earlier. And one key example that we can take here is Mec Aloo Tikki and Mec Veggie, because McDonald's arguably doesn't sell such a product in any other country except India. So it was a new product developed specifically for Indian consumers because of the socio-cultural environment in India and the fact that it does not sell beef in India. So Mc Aloo Tikki and Mc Veggie were two products which were developed specially for India, which means it was a new product. And McDonald's came up with this product especially for the Indian market, and it started selling this product in the Indian market. So this can be an example of a new product, new market, which is nothing but diversification. And all these four factors put together, we call growth. So market penetration, market development, and product development can in general be referred to as expansion. And the fourth point, that is the fourth box, which is diversification. And expansion and diversification collectively are referred to as growth. So I hope this also gives us a clear understanding of the approach that we need to follow in terms of going ahead with the business.